Being close to a guy like Alex Hormozi, is there anything that you think is a hidden or incredible superpower of his?
He's insanely patient. We're looking at trying to build a business that's sellable, which means that Alex can't be the face. So that means I have to be in the ads. I fly out to his house and we set up and we're gonna film. And I just remember doing it and it was so bad the first time. But I remember him being so patient. He's like, okay, just do this. So if I was gonna do it, I would think about it this way. Okay, try it again. He truly understands the power of putting in hours and hours of work. It's reasonable to believe that because he spent so much time doing it, that he would be exceptional at it. And he said, it's also reasonable for me to believe that you, if you spend the same amount of time, will be just as good, if not better.
Opposite question. What do you see that he is not great at? What does he fail at? If you were writing his evaluation, where is Alex Hormozi deficient?
Because he's not the CEO of acquisition.com for a good reason. And I think he self-admittedly would say this.
So you're the CEO of GymLaunch Prestige Labs. I want to recap a little bit of your story just so everybody's aware of it, but also kind of maybe bend that into a question. So my understanding is you were a gym owner at some point. Mm-hmm. Early on, you hear of or hire Alex Hormozi and GymLaunch, a system essentially to help you scale, to help small and medium-sized gyms scale, which is you sit at the top of that right now. And at a certain point, you decide with an offer from Alex, you're going to exit the gym ownership space and come work for Alex. Why make that decision?
Yeah, great question. So there's a little bit more to that. Can I go into it?
Of course,
Sweet.
man. Hit me.
When I signed up with GymLaunch, my gym was 8 weeks from failing. I had gotten a job a month before to put food on the table. So I was working a job and in the business or in the gym. I'm in the gym, it's struggling. I see this ad, I sign up with GymLaunch. It's like end of April, May-ish time when we sign up. Join, turn the gym around. I'm still working at this local spot. It's actually still there. They have a great business and I'm still working that the entire time. Because I realized, and this takes me back to college days, the best that I am is when I'm the busiest, is when I don't have time to do a lot of free stuff. It's when my schedule's packed, it's back to back, because then I wake up, I just work, I just do. When I have time to kind of dilly-dally and kind of like, put my hands in one thing in the other, and just test different stuff, I find that I get really distracted very easily, like a lot of entrepreneurs, I think. And when my time is taken up, and I have to be super focused, then I'm at my best. So Alex, the entire time I'm a client of his, he's like, you need to quit your job. He's like, you need to go all in. And I get it. I totally understand that. For so many people that I talk to, I'm the same way. I'm like, you should go all in. Don't look at me. I'm the exception to the rule because I also have an amazing wife who also was in the business with me, helping to operate it. And we built a really good team very, very fast. Then he posted an ad he needed a salesperson. And this was a year after. So 2018 in April of 2018. So I had become a client in May 2017, April 2018, post an ad needing a salesperson. And I was like, I messaged him on Facebook and I said, hey, send me your deck. Cause I knew that they would have a deck for sales. So I was like, send me your deck and I'll just do it for free. No commission. And I was dead serious, but also I figured he'd just take it as a joke or whatever. He hits me back up and he's like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, well, I need full time. And I was like, okay, well, I have a job right now. He's like, yeah, is your gym in a good spot? I was like, yeah, our gym's fine. It's in a great spot. And he was like, okay, well, let's do it. And then I went through the hiring process, the interviews and all that stuff. And then ended up starting as a salesperson first during that. And the thought process behind that was really, we were talking about this before, proximity. I knew GymLaunch changed my life and my wife's life and the trajectory of our life, period. End of story. And a lot of that, the majority of that is due to Alex and Layla and the culture that they built and the vision that they had and what they were able to overcome, the story that they've created and what they've been able to do and what we have been able to do here at GymLaunch for gym owners around the world. And I wanted to be closer to that. And I knew that I had tons of deficits as an entrepreneur and I wanted to be around as the best based on what I knew at the time. And it's still the best. And I wanted to be around that. And I knew that I would not have access to Alex as a lowly sales guy. Like I didn't have access to him at all. But I knew being in the company, them doing leadership calls once a month, us being a part, just daily calls or coaching calls or whatever we're doing, just me being around him and Layla and others in the company that were smarter than me, that had more experience than me, I knew that I would learn a ton. and I didn't know where it would take me, but I joined it because I just wanted to be around that.
We all see what he is today, or at least what he's presented, and we get it. When you say proximity to him, I say we, meaning the populace, understands why you would want that.
Yeah.
At the time that you wanted this proximity, did you see what we're seeing, or was there something else that really attracted you to him specifically?
No, I didn't see what's happened today, where he is today. I didn't see that happening. But I say that and I'm not surprised by any means. What I was attracted to is he's genuinely, number one, an extremely nice person, like genuinely nice. He's very kind. And he's someone that you just want to be around. He understands influence, obviously. And at the time with where I wanted to learn from someone who was 10 steps ahead of me and so much further ahead of me in business, as well as around the beliefs that he has around life, around business, around relationships, around working out, around anything, right? And it was very different for me to be around. And so it was something new and very refreshing because a lot of things that he said were things that I thought and I couldn't articulate myself. And there was a connection there of this person's gone through a lot of stuff because I knew his story. And as we grew closer, I learned more of his story. And I understand the trials that he went through and the tribulations that he went through. And he always, every day, is willing to wake up and be the hardest worker in the room, constantly. And for me, I just have the utmost respect for him, period.
What were the deficits that you felt you had as an entrepreneur back then?
Too many. I wasn't great at sales, even though like in the B2C realm, I was good. But I wasn't great at B2B sales. I hadn't mastered that process. I hadn't mastered marketing as a skill set, like how to truly get leads, how to create things that people would want to opt into, understanding true funnel dynamics in the B2B space. I didn't understand how to lead people. So that was a major deficit for me. I didn't understand how to hold people accountable. I didn't understand how to influence people at a larger scale than just one-on-one conversations. I didn't understand strategy within business of thinking bigger picture of like, cool, what if we did this type of acquisition? What would this look like? What are the second and third order consequences of this move? I didn't understand like right now we're playing a different game and I would have never thought this at the time, but I didn't understand at the time the private equity game, right? Being a lowly gym owner, I didn't know anything about that. I had friends that were in it, but we didn't talk about it because they hated their jobs and their life in it. But there's so many different things. But at the time, the deficits were primarily sales, marketing, leadership, and strategy.
Wow. You've talked about, you do your monthly strategy meetings. Mm-hmm. And recently, I believe you and your wife talked about just the tolerance level for underperformance at the manager level in your organization, how your work, every one of us, I'm sure, work on like, I probably should have done that sooner, probably should have fired or let go of somebody sooner. But the way you've described it is you've had heavier turnover. You've had a lot of different leaders leave or been asked to leave the organization. I'm assuming because they're not meeting some of the goals, lead lags, that we'll talk about that in a little bit. You've also described yourself just now, and I've heard you describe yourself in the past, as a sales manager who was terrible. I don't know if you use the word shitty or if I'm using it, but terrible sales manager.
You nailed it.
What is it that allowed you, or what is it that, how do I put this? What was it about you that allowed for there to be patience for you to develop versus people in your organization maybe getting the quicker exit because of the underperformance? So does that make sense?
Yeah, makes total sense. I have a broader skill set than the average person that comes into the business. That I think is the reason why I was able to stay. I also think at the time, timing has a lot to do with it. And when I was a terrible sales manager, there just happened to be an opportunity where I could flex another skill set that I had to build a coaching team because I understand the business of gyms and how to grow and scale gyms really, really easily. That comes naturally just through time of doing it and being a gym owner.
Makes sense.
And being able to step into that role helped a ton. And I took the lesson of being a terrible sales manager to heart. And I really wanted to make sure I never repeated that. And I made that very well known to the people above me as well as Alex and Layla. And they knew this is why I have so much respect for them and love, genuine like friendship, love for them, because they could have fired me. They should have. I was terrible. And while we had a great team, I just, from a manager standpoint, was not a good manager. And they could have fired me, but they didn't. They moved me into a different role. They presented it in a way that was very honorable and respectful. I move into that role, and then they allow me to grow in that role. and they give me the freedom to do things there, knowing, almost kind of trusting that I had learned from my mistakes in a way. And I'm not saying I didn't make mistakes, and I still make tons of mistakes today, right? We all do. But it was a massive learning, and it was a massive learning experience because I was so upset. Like, if you talk to Maggie about this, that was the most disappointed I've ever been in myself ever in my life. Because I knew by moving to this new role, I was giving up on the opportunity to improve what I had failed at. And that was very hard for me.
Yeah.
Very hard. I was not used to failure at this point. Like, baseball failure, get it. Like, playing baseball all the time and all this stuff. But like, any job interview I'd ever gone into, I got the job. Any team I'd ever tried out for, I was on the team. Like, all these different things. And so for me, it was very difficult. And I was faced with my own deficits as a manager, as a leader. And I was like, okay, I have two options. I can play the victim card, and I could be the guy that's like, well, this is their fault. They didn't give me enough training, or they should have told me this, or my team's just not listening to me. Or I could have just looked in the mirror and been like, wow, you were a shitty manager. And that's okay. You can get better.
Yeah.
And this is how you improve. And so I decided to take that route because that serves me more than the other way.
I like that. I like that. What's up, Tribe listeners? I want to talk about our sponsor for today's episode, Gobundance, the tribe for healthy, wealthy, generous people who choose to live epic lives. It's a tribe I've been a part of for 5 years now, and I keep coming back year after year because of the quality of the connections and interactions that I get and the accountability that I get toward the goals that I'm looking to achieve. Gobundance has meant everything to me. So I'm really, really proud to sit here on the Tribe of Millionaires podcast and tell you a little bit about Gobundance. Here's the thing. Why do you live where you live? Think about it. Why do you live in the neighborhood you live in, or the apartment building you live in, or wherever it might be? Usually people move into a community because of the quality of the neighbors and all of the amenities that are available to them. And then they go about using those amenities and leveraging that community to the best of their ability for growth. They make connections with neighbors, lifelong friendships, things that serve them. We want that for ourselves, for our wives or husbands, and our children. That's what Gobundance is at the next level. Imagine if you're a man moving into a community of other millionaire men that are driven toward being the best versions of themselves as fathers, as husbands, in their health, in their relationships, in their contribution, you name it. That's what Gobundance provides. For me, it's been everything. I get with my Gobundance brothers on a weekly basis and I tell them, this is where I'm trying to go. Things I can't share with the regular folks in my life, my friends, my family that I've known forever. They only know me for who I've been. Gobundance guys, they know me only for who I'm becoming. And when I deviate, when I go off course from being that guy, from taking action toward being that guy, that's when they step in, that's when they hold me accountable, and that's what accelerates my growth. Go to Gobundance.com right now and apply. If you're a millionaire and a man, Gobundance.com. If you're a woman and a millionaire, GobundanceWomen.com. And if you're not quite a millionaire, go to GobundanceEmerge.com and you join me in the community that I've created in partnership with Gobundance to get yourself to that place of being what we call a whole life millionaire. Gobundance.com. You can start there, see everything that we have to offer. It's an incredible community. I can't wait for you to be a part of it. Now, back to the show. Are expectations or the clarity of expectations and evolution from the time you were the sales manager to what GymLaunch is now 30 million a year. Is that something that's different, or were expectations very clear then? They're clear now. It just, you've applied. Go ahead.
No, they were there for sure. But I think for me, I had at the time, there was dynamics where I had a sales director and I was a sales manager, and we had two different teams. And the sales director kind of made up for the deficits that I had in that role. But that's not an excuse for me to have not gotten better at what I needed to get better at. But now today, I basically created the blueprint in my head for what a bad sales manager should look like. And now it's like the expectation for a good sales manager is very clearly defined and communicated consistently.
Being close to a guy like Alex Hormozi, again, we see the public face, and you've articulated a few different things that you think he's incredible at. Mm-hmm. Is there anything as a leader, as an entrepreneur, that we don't get to see that you think is a hidden or incredible superpower of his?
He's insanely patient. So
that's surprising.
Yes, insanely patient. So the most intimidated I've ever been was outside of sports. The most intimidated was when I had to fly out, and we're in the process of I'm the GM. We're in the process of going through COVID, and then also we're looking at trying to build a business that's sellable, which means that Alex can't be the face. So what does that mean? Well, Alex is in all the ads. So that means I have to be in the ads. Seems like a small deal. I had done ads in my gym, like I'd been on camera, all this stuff. Well, I fly out to his house in Austin at the time, and we set up and we're going to film for a weekend. And I had never been more intimidated because this dude's so good on camera.
He is.
Like he's so good. And I'm sitting there and I just remember doing it and it was so bad the first time. But I remember him being so patient. Like he was just like, no worries. He's like, okay, just do this. And literally in that tone, it was just like, no worries, man. So just do this. So think about it this way. So if I was going to do it, I would think about it this way. Okay, try it again. Okay, try it again. And he could have just been like, nah, screw it, you suck. And don't worry about it. But he truly understands the power of putting in hours and hours of work and knowing that it's reasonable to believe that because he spent so much time doing it, that he would be exceptional at it. And he said, it's also reasonable for me to believe that you, if you spend the same amount of time, will be just as good, if not better. And that was really cool for me because, again, I was terrible. But over time, it just gets better and better and better.
Opposite question. If you're close to him, what do you see that he is not great at? What does he fail at? If you were writing his evaluation, where is Alex Hormozi deficient? He seems perfect to many of us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what's his struggle?
Yeah, I think if you were going to look in the context of like, because he's not the CEO of acquisition.com, Layla is, for good reason. And he talks about that. And I think he self-admittedly would say this. He's not a process like send me updates, let me look through this and let me put everything in Asana or a project management board and let me take notes and all that. That's not him at all.
Big visionary.
Big visionary, obviously. Like that is his role. And that when he's placed in that, he changes the world. But when you try to put him in a position where he has to do that, that's not where he flourishes at all. But that's also why he's been surrounded. I mean, Layla is incredible. Layla is a true CEO and she's exceptional at it.
Yeah. Is he, I know he was intentional when he talks about it. When he and Layla met, they essentially made almost like a business partnership out of their marriage.
Yeah.
Is that if you were to go back and start everything over again, is that key number one? Is it know your strength, hire the opposite, or bring in the opposite as a partner for whatever you're not great at? So if you're a great operator, do you need that visionary? If you're a great visionary, do you need that operator? Is that what makes, I mean, he's very unique. He's very significant, like not an overnight success, but a young success at his level. He's in his early 30s, I think, right? Very young to have succeeded at the level that he has. I'm just curious, what is besides him being uniquely him, what is it tactically that he's done, do you think, that's contributed to his success?
Number one, he's a lot smarter than people actually know.
He seems really smart.
He's even smarter. Like he's even smarter.
Yeah.
Scary smart. He already has people. I don't know if people truly understand like how much success he's had just in life and everything he's touched. And he talks about his failures a lot because he needs to, because he's failed a lot. But when we think about like what's made him, Layla has definitely that decision, but that decision wasn't to, hey, I see her as an operator, I'm really good at this. Layla at the time was doing sales. Like she was a salesperson. So like they were basically doing the same thing. Layla is the ultimate chameleon in that she can morph into whatever is needed. And she is so good at it that she can be like, cool, I need to be this for the business. I will become this for the business. And she'll be the best at it. Like she'll be top 10%, top 5% in the world at it. Alex is the top 0.001% of visionaries when it comes to business and all these things, and creating money and being able to create offers and writing and thought process. I think what the thing for him is that he had a lot of talent. And then what he did is he just bolted on an absurd work ethic with a very clearly defined end goal and objective. And by doing that, it gave him, basically he's just, the work ethic is the rubber band pulling back, right? It's that tension that creates. And then with the clearly defined end point of where he's trying to go, it's that release. It's that freedom of, I'm just going to go all gas, no brakes. I've got the work ethic. I've got the basic higher level intelligence, well above average intelligence than everyone else. And just point me in the direction and I'll go. And he created that direction for himself and then he went.
I love that. A guy named Cameron Herold, who's written a couple of books, Vivid Vision, Second in Command. He was the COO of a company called, we all know, 800 Got Junk.
Yep.
Took it from 2 to 100 million.
Such an exceptional company. company.
Incredible, right?
Exceptional.
Took it 2 to 100 million. And I thought something he talked about on this podcast that was interesting was that the guy that took over for him couldn't do the COO role at the level that he did it, meaning he's more entrepreneurial, he's more of a build guy. But conversely, he couldn't do the job at 100 million plus. You're at 30 million as a company right now. And I think you even bounced like maybe to half and back in COVID. You've said like you're probably not the CEO of Twitter one day. That's what you've articulated that. When is this too big for you?
I don't know, but I'd love to find out.
When did you think, what did you think, at what point did you think this would be doable for you, 30 million even? Where was the company or where were you when you felt like, you know what, I could run a $30 million company?
Never thought that.
Never.
It's never crossed my mind.
So what was the calculus in taking over as the GM/CEO for you?
I want to know what type of man it takes to run a $30 million company.
Interesting. Was it 30 million when you took over?
No. When I was CEO, we were doing roughly 20.
20 million.
Like 18.
Gotcha. What have you learned about yourself?
I've learned that I've got a lot more deficits than I thought.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I learned that I was really good and enjoyed and flourished in being the doer of things.
Yeah.
Because like Alex would be like, or Layla would be like, cool, we need to do this. And I'd be like, cool, got it. I'll go. And I was very much I'll Google it. I'll figure it out. I'm a figure outer. And come back, ask some questions. Great. Go back, keep implementing. But now I can't do that because now I can do some of it, but at the same time, the more that I do, the more I hurt the company because I need to allow our team to grow. So now I need to become the person that is the chief reminding officer, right? Patrick Lencioni is the motive. He talks about that. I need to be the chief reminding officer, and I need to be the person who is there to coach and build the people that are going to do all of the things. And then I also have to create space for myself to think clearly on what are we going to do next? What's going to take us from 30 to 100 million? What's going to take us from 100 million to 300 million? And choose wisely because our team, we only have a certain amount of time and attention, and we need to be able to put those towards the things that are going to have the biggest ROI.
GymLaunch and Prestige Labs together, what is their market cap? Is this a $300 million company?
Not between the two, but with gymowners.com, which is our third company, which I'm actually the CEO of, is a tech startup. I think there's an opportunity with us to get to the valuation of 300 to 250 to $300 million.
Gotcha.
Between the three.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see what it's going to take to get there.
Can you tell me what it looks like to be the chief reminding officer? What does a meeting look like? What do you do? What are your tactics for that?
So we have core tenets and values that we hold within our business, and we hire for those based on those core tenets. We fire based on those core tenets, and we act and make decisions based on those core tenets. And our goal with that is, for me, when I'm in meetings, is are we acting in according to our core tenets here? Are we acting with speed is king? Are we being our own boss? So when I'm talking to our team, are we being our own boss? Are we managing our schedule, managing our decisions, and thinking like a CEO? Because that's what I did. I was like, if I'm Alex, I would do this. And then I would go into a meeting, I'd listen to what they were doing. I'd be like, well, nope, that's wrong. That's a bad idea. He's got a better idea. Why did he come up with that? And I would think through those scenarios. Have humility. Do we have humility, both with our team, with our vendors, with our clients? Do we treat them well, right? So those are just a couple of our core tenets, but like, don't sugarcoat is another one. Don't sugarcoat it. When you're on meetings, do you give clear feedback to people? Do you let them know when they mess up in a graceful way, right? Do you also do the same thing when do you praise them? Because you shouldn't sugarcoat it when you want to praise them.
Yeah.
And how are we acting with that? And then the next step to that, then the follow-up to that is, how are we showing up on a daily basis? And most of my time is spent with the leadership teams.
Sure.
So we have an exec team, then we have a leadership team for Prestige Labs, leadership team for GymLaunch, a leadership team for gymowners.com. And so most of my time is spent with them and making sure, are we moving forward on the things that truly matter? And if we're not, let's stop doing that and let's focus on the stuff that only matters.
That makes sense. You talked about your schedule being full. That makes you more productive. Man, I resonate with that.
Yeah.
Completely get that. When I give myself a block, it never gets, whatever that block is, like I'm just going to think and, here's a few things I'll do. If it's not to the hour, I just don't execute. But I feel like for me, and I'm not at the level you are as far as the size of your business, I feel like for me at some point, that's one of those things that got me here that's not going to get me there. For you, as you start to become more of a chief reminding officer, is that adjusting that tactic? Are you needing to put more space in your calendar, or is it filled up with a different set of tasks in order to keep you driving toward 50 or 100 or $200 million?
It's a great question. The biggest thing for me is I've realized that meetings are a waste of time. You spend too much time in meetings as a virtual company. And I think most businesses do.
Probably.
A little while ago, we did a 2-week no meeting freeze, completely, like just no meetings at all.
What'd you learn?
I learned a ton. I learned that people use meetings as a way to get their community feeling in, like their engagement in, rather than actually moving the business forward. I'm all for that. We can do coffee happy hours. I'm cool with that. I don't mind that. But let's not use meetings when we're trying to push something forward as just a time to chat, get to know each other, hang out, BS, and play around. And we're extending a 5-minute problem into an hour-long meeting, which could have been solved in 5 minutes just by asking 3 simple questions. What's the problem we're here to solve? Who's the person that can solve the problem? And how are they going to solve the problem? And then the 4th one is just like, cool, when are we going to solve the problem? Right? And so I learned through those 2 weeks that we have way too many meetings. So for me, it's a lot of, and I keep continuing to learn this, and that is we use Asana for like our project management. And I've learned just recently, like we use also Slack for communication. I spent too much time using Slack as the way that Asana should be used.
Oh, sure.
And now I've just transitioned into Asana needs to be my Slack. And so everything is there, everything's documented, everything project based or managed needs to be in there to be able to give full transparency to our leadership team and to everyone else on the execution side to move the ball forward faster without having to waste time in meetings. So for me, it's been more so of just how can I use the tools that I have at my disposal? And it may sound so basic, right? So someone that runs a $1 billion company is like, yeah, like no shit, Cale, like you should have been doing this a long time ago. And I'm still learning. And for me, I wish I could speed up the learning process, but for me, it's definitely been a big switch from you don't need as many meetings. We need more doing, and we need to be able to communicate effectively and quickly on what it is that we need to have happen. Some of the things that I've noticed with our leadership team, and one of the things that I'm working on with a lot of them is let's communicate. Let's learn to communicate faster and more effectively. We spend 30 minutes on a meeting when, again, we could have just been in Asana and just typed out exactly what you needed, and you don't need a meeting for it at all.
That's true.
It's like we all got work to do. And we run a lean team. And so it becomes even worse when we've got people tied up. You got 6, 7 people tied up in a meeting when only 2 of them are actually talking.
Yeah.
And they could have been doing whatever else that they're amazing at. But they're stuck here on this meeting BSing around when we're wasting time.
That makes sense. That makes total sense. That's just making me think about things. First of all, I hate Asana. Asana's tough.
I did too.
I can't find anything in there.
So I was the same way. Until I'm the exact same way. You talk to Maggie. Maggie loves Asana. And I hated Asana for so long. And now just in the last 2 weeks, I love it because I realized I can't, for so long, I prided myself on being able to run multiple companies from just basically my head. Cause I understand where are we going? Okay. Cause I'm the one that comes up with a lot of the goals, the strategy, all this stuff with the help of amazing team, our board and all this stuff. But at the same time, I realized I was like, this isn't going to last. So what got me here, going back to the thing, what got me here isn't going to get me to 100 million or 300 million or whatever it is. Yeah. And so I need to get way better at my communication and how I'm running meetings, how I'm running the team, how I'm leading the team. And I need to lead by example because if I can't sit here and bitch about my team not using Asana and us losing track of stuff if I'm not in there. Yeah. So I have to lead first.
I love that. You, I think I heard you speak recently about the fact that your job is to poke holes, find what's broken or potentially broken and fix it despite success. So if I'm understanding it right, you might be about $1 million ahead of where you anticipated being at this point of the year, but you're still focused on, well, what's broken? What can I fix here?
Constantly.
What are some of the trends? I mean, if you want to give business specifics, that's fine. I don't want to, whatever you're comfortable with, but either what are some specific holes that you find, or even maybe more importantly, what are some of the trends you find in the holes that you find, if that makes sense?
Yeah. So I'll get tactical, really specific in just a second. But I think the main trend was we had the wrong people in place leading individuals who aren't fully bought into the vision. And so the leaders, the managers that were leading these individuals were not, number one, great at holding their teams accountable. Excuse me. They were not great at, they were not being well led from also the people above them as well, who they were answering to. And what happened was it's always a slow fade, right? And it's never like someone wakes up one day and is like, I'm going to just screw this business, turn it over. Like, no, F this. I'm burning it all down. It always happens over time. Right. And it's always this, oh, I'll let that slide. Oh, I'll let that slide. Oh, you know what? This email came in from a client. Nah, reply to it in the next hour or so and we'll be fine. Right. And so those small things start to add up, and then the culture changes, the expectations change, and performance changes. And that happened over time. And somehow it slipped through the cracks. And that's on me. I take full responsibility for it. And I screwed up. And I should have been more aware of the little things. And I was asking questions to try to figure it out. But the questions that I was getting, the answers I was getting were either somewhat sufficient or nowhere near what I needed. So I kept asking more questions, but no answers were coming up that would be like big red glaring flags, like, hey, alert, alert, alert. But when we removed the person, that was the bottleneck there, we dove in, Maggie specifically, because this was more her purview. And we were having major customer service side. So specifics on this, we were having very, very like ridiculously slow response times to clients, which kills me. Like kills me.
Give me a sense of what's ridiculously slow.
Oh, ridiculous would be like an hour, hour and a half. Gotcha. That is absurd. Like absurd. Like we should be within 5-10 minutes tops. Like it should be very easy to do that.
That's your standard. Yeah.
Yes. 100%. And somewhere along the lines, the standards somehow changed. And like when I would ask like, what are average response times? I got a number that was like 10 minutes. And I was like, great. Come to find out that was how long it took someone on the team to actually read the email. So not response times. So I was being told like all these different things. Either way, it's still my
sugarcoating, right?
Yeah, I should have dug in more. That's on me. Still, I should have double checked, trust and verify. That's one aspect. A lot of it was centered around customer service. Really, it was just customer service. It was just severely lacking. Low response times. The responses themselves were not to our standard, and we were missing small little things in the customer journey that shouldn't be overlooked ever or missed, because our clients pay us a lot of money to help them grow. And we do everything we possibly can on the coaching side, on our agency side, on our sales side to help them be able to grow. To have our customer support team mess up some of those experiences or make them not as great was very, very frustrating. And it's 100% on me.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. Are you still doing copywriting yourself?
I still dabble in it every once in a while. I don't do as much.
What's the point at which a company, because I'm always fascinated by this, and I've heard you talk about this quite a bit. And I know I think you're still trying to find that spot. What's the point at which a company, this could be maybe the revenue or I don't know, whatever metric you want to use, goes from sort of eyes on, hands on to eyes on, hands off for you?
Well, I think we need to understand what the person, the leader, whatever they're best at, that will always be the biggest bottleneck in the business.
Say that one more time.
The person, so the leader of the business, whatever they're best at, will always be the biggest bottleneck in the business.
Okay.
Because the buck stops with them on that one thing. Example, if I'm the best at making ads for GymLaunch, then the bottleneck will always be me.
Boy, that's good.
Always.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, I'm the only one that can do it. So I made a commitment that I would not be, this is going to sound bad. It's not negative at all. It's because he's the best in the world. I'm not Alex. So I will not be Alex. And I'm also not going to try to be Alex. Alex is an exceptional copywriter, exceptional writer, great on camera, all these things, great at sales, all this.
Mine
and
just
he
works
loves,
fast.
he loves doing it. For me, I was like, okay, cool. That got us to this point, but that's not going to get us to the next point. I have to be an actual CEO. I can't be the one that's doing it all the time. Do I still make ads? Absolutely. Am I training, doing the same thing that Alex did with me, where I'm having other people also do ads? 1,000%. Absolutely. My goal is to never be seen at all. That's my goal, is I don't actually want to be seen. It's our team that's seen, social media, ads, everything. Because they're the ones that are meeting with clients. Yes, I still get to do some coaching calls, which are my favorite part ever. But the goal is to uplift them, because that is what is going to get our business to the next level. And copywriting is another thing. I stopped copywriting a while ago, hired a copywriter. She's worked with our GM on the GymLaunch side, myself, and then also learned a bunch of other stuff. She's gone through all of Alex's old copy and what we've done. So for a while, I wrote all the copy.
Yeah.
And now it's handed it over, and not going back into it unless they need me. I'll write some stuff.
What changed for you on that? I've heard you say, hey, look, we could hire a copywriter. We just don't have enough full-time capacity for that. You can write copy and it's good for 2 to 3 months. It takes you 2 hours to write 3 months of copy. Now you have a full-time copywriter.
Yep.
Where does the mindset shift go on that? Where were you? Why were you convinced to make that change?
The need.
The need. What do you mean?
The need we have multiple businesses and she crosses over on multiple businesses.
Understood.
So we have blog posts and we have blog posts that are needed on this. And she's exceptional. Our copywriter is actually really good at writing conversion copy and blog, which is very hard to find. And she's young, she's hungry, she likes it, she enjoys it, and she's phenomenal. And so that was the change. If we didn't need that, then I would still be writing copy because you can write good copy, like I mentioned, and it can last for a while.
Leads and lags. I love the concept. Not even the concept. I love applying this.
Yeah.
Lead goals, lag goals.
Yeah.
And if anyone's wondering, a lead goal, or I'm sorry, a lag goal would be sort of an outcome based, maybe longer term. Lead goal is sort of the habits and the actual things that you're tracking in order to achieve the lag goal. I think, you tell me if I'm wrong, that's a core tenet of what GymLaunch installs when you go into a gym. That's one of the pieces of it. So there's that you do also in your business. You also talked a lot about people, and I'm always curious about this. Could you assign a percentage maybe to it? What is the key to success? What percentage of the success of what GymLaunch is because you have clearly established leads and lag goals versus constantly looking at assessing and making sure people are in the right place and that they're committed to the vision? Are they even? Is one more than the other if you could only pick one?
That's a hard question to answer because people need something to go for. They need a vision, they need a benchmark, they need a goalpost. But on the flip side, you need amazing people that are also held accountable and coached and continue to be led to actually do the work.
Let me ask it this way. If I gave you the greatest people with somewhat like an idea, a vision, but not clear goals, or I gave you really great goals, very clear, but not the greatest people, which do you take?
I would take clear goals with not great people.
Wow, really?
Because I can help move those people up.
Interesting. Would it be easier to clarify the goals?
You would think so. But if you don't have clarity at the top, you could send all these great people in different directions.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then you lose the benefit of having great people. Because I would rather have one clear goal and have a mid team than 3 to 5 different goals. And studies prove this, 3 to 5 different goals with an amazing team. Because they're just going to be just intersecting and moving together across multiple different things.
And they diminish.
Correct. And now it just brings them down into a mid-team.
Oh, that's interesting. I never thought of it that way.
So now you don't hit any of those goals.
Yeah.
And so what I would do is, it's like, so Bill Belichick is perfect when it comes to coaching, right?
please
I hate
not.
the Patriots.
Fucking Patriots.
I hate the Patriots, right? But I hate the Patriots.
I know, me too.
But he's phenomenal at it where he will build his scheme around the players that he has rather than trying to find the players to fit the scheme. That's why he's so good. Is because he's able to take the packages that he has, the people that he has, and then he's like, okay, well, we don't have the people for this. We're going to build this into it. And then he works on it with them and then gets them to be amazing. This is why he can take people that are quote unquote mediocre or not the best players in the NFL and be able to create championship teams.
Yeah, that makes
Because they
sense.
have a clear vision and then they do the boring work every single day.
I guess I never thought, in my mind, it was almost like, well, limited talent, you can't coach speed, they say, right? Like there's certain things you can't do. But the best analogy I can think of right now and what you described that makes sense to me at least is it's almost like if I'm paying you 50 grand and then I say, I'm going to pay you 40. Like that's way harder and you're going to lose the person more than if I'm paying you 40 grand and then I'm going to pay you 50. So it's the same thing. If you're going to take people that are mediocre to decent performers, but give them one clear thing, you can get those people up to the standard. But if you take people that have a high standard and give them chaos, you've lost them.
Yeah.
Just like if I'm going to pay you less, like you've lost me.
Yeah. And I'm sure there's people listening to this right now or watching this that are going to battle that and be like, no way, I've got a team and we've got lots of stuff and we like to do it. That's fine.
Yeah.
From my experience though, we've had amazing teams, but we haven't hit goals. We went a long time without, here's a great story. We went a long time without nailing quarterly goals. So we've always done quarterly goals here for as long as I've been here. We do meetups, quarterly meetups. We would meet, we'd set our goals for each department. We call them now MIT's most important tasks for the quarter. Yep. What are you going to do? And we got to get there and we'd have the plans of how to get there and we'd have exceptional team members. And we had incredible people from great companies before that would come and work. We had too many. And then we'd be halfway through the quarter and something would change and then we would need to change it. And then we never hit it. and we have great people who are trying to execute. And then what happens is, everybody gets frustrated, right? Because it's like, well, we were moving towards this goal, but now I'm moving off to this goal, or the goalpost has changed because we're not quite where we need to be. And then all these things start to happen when if we had just had one goal or two goals as a company, and then we all work together as a team to hit those goals, because it's going to take a entire team to reach those goals. And each person will have the lag measures, right, of like, or the lead measures of like what they're going to have to do. We call them just the behaviors that they're going to have to do. Yeah. And if we had just done that, which we have in the past, we crush more goals. So what we found is, since me kind of taking over CEO, is I've had less goals, less changes. And this is something I learned from Alex. And Alex gave me this as like, and he's like, if you were going to be different than me, my suggestion would be is do less things and just focus on being better. And my goal is to do less, but do them better. And we have less goals, and we try to focus the team on these goals. And what is it going to take to get there? And we found more success with that, which is why we've grown almost 50% every year.
That's true. That's incredible. Just one point of clarification. Alex sold GymLaunch, but did he sell a portion of it? I think it was 46 million, or did he sell the whole thing?
No, portion of it.
Portion of it.
Yeah.
So he still holds an ownership interest.
33, 34%.
Gotcha. That makes sense. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
I can go one of two ways here, but I want to get into brand a little bit. You recently, I feel like, fairly recently, have started to build your own brand. I've seen it with Ed as well on the Prestige Lab side. Even your wife, you have the podcast together, which we'll get into. Let me take that a step back. I've gotten some people reaching out about being on the podcast, and it's funny, 2 or 3 of them, they're bookers or authors or whatever, saying, hey, this person talks about leveraging personal brand within your business. And I'm like, that's interesting now that I'm seeing you. I feel like our leveraging personal brand, I think about your podcast, it's sponsored or brought to you by Prestige Labs, right? So there's a lot of integration between you as a brand and the business, but like you said before, you're not the guy in the ads necessarily.
Yep.
What is the calculation, the desire, why are you investing in your brand right now?
More eyeballs.
For what?
For the business. Yeah. Long term, yes, it serves me really well personally to do that. In a perfect world, I actually wouldn't care. I'd rather not make content. My life would be so much simpler if I didn't make content. But long term, in today's world, eyeballs and attention are currency. And as of right now, and it would be dumb of me as someone who's trying to help build a business and take it from where it was to $300 million to not take advantage of that right now. And there's a lot of people, I don't think so highly of myself that I have this great message to say to everyone. I really just talk about experiences, my own stories, or different thoughts that come up. But if it does resonate with people, which for some it has, then that's great. And my goal is to spread a wide net, not be as specific, because I've tried that. I've tried being very specific with gym-specific topics, gym business. Not a lot of reach. As soon as I went more broad, that's when more and more people started watching. And I'm still tiny. I'm a nobody. So for me, and it's like,
same.
Yeah, when I look at it, I'm like, I'm a nobody. Why are you doing this? But for me, it's like, okay, it's reasonable to believe if I keep doing this, that in 5 years, I will have a following of maybe 1 million. I don't know. That'd be great. Maybe I have 500,000. Doesn't matter. But at the end of the day, I do know that the more that I talk and get my content out there, people will see it. It may resonate with them, which is great. If it doesn't, great. But if I can draw attention from me, push it towards GymLaunch or Prestige Labs or gymowners.com, then that's a win. That's my goal.
Yeah. How much is Alex influencing your content, if at all?
Not the individual content, but the strategy, 1,000%.
Give me some idea on the strategy, if you don't mind.
Yeah. I mean, he's the whole reason why I'm doing content. He's like, hey, if I could go back again, I'm very much a person of like, someone else has paid the ignorance tax, I should listen up. And Alex was like, if I could go back, I would have spent way more time on my brand and doing more content and pushing it publicly. And he's like, you should do it. And I was like, done. And so I was like, okay, then I'll just do it.
Give me some of the tenets of your strategy. So do you have it? Are you mapping it? Are there certain topics within this broader range, not just gyms, but more, business, entrepreneurship, everything else? Like, do you stay within a certain box? Do you navigate out of that box? What does it look like when you sit down and film content? What are you doing?
Yeah. So I'm super transparent about everything. So I use an agency. I'm not going to name them because they're not taking on any new clients. So I don't want someone to listen and just blow them up. They're exceptional. And they work with some pretty big people inside of the space. And I met with them and then I outlined what I want to be known for and what kind of message do I want to put out there. First one is I want to be seen as a father as a husband, a man of integrity, and also I happen to be really good at helping gym owners make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And those are kind of like the things that I want. So they create topics for me that I talk about, and I'll riff on those, and I just send it to them. They edit it, cut it down, and that's it.
Yeah.
So I usually spend 2 to 3 hours a week making content, and that's anywhere between 10 to 50 pieces of content.
Do you have individual platform strategies or no?
They handle all the posting. They handle everything.
Goes out there for you.
Because I need to buy back attention on my side. So like I don't want to be posting. I don't want to be doing any of that. They handle all of that. And then we have the podcast. We have the Gym Secrets podcast, which I do, which they can also cut up and use. And then we also have the Cookies and Coffee podcast with my wife.
Right.
So
you and your wife doing that podcast, this is interesting to me. I was thinking about this recently. When I think of like an Alex Hormozi or Tom Bilyeu, these are entrepreneurs who are married. They're in the business together and they don't have kids. Mm-hmm. So when I think about where most of us spend our time or where we feel divided, especially as men, we feel divided between, my business or my job, whatever it might be, my kids, my wife, like managing and cultivating all of those relationships. And you just, you dial one up, you dial the other one down. So I don't know if I guess with Alex, it was somewhat intentional. And actually with Tom too, I interviewed him and he talked about this, but they've intentionally decided not to have kids or not to have kids now. Mm-hmm. And they are spending time together in the business, which is almost, not to make it sound cold, but like a very efficient, it is the most efficient way to operate across those 3 spectrums, job or work.
That's how they express love.
For you and your wife, is there intent in the fact that you're doing this together to sort of merge and become efficient with, hey, look, the time, I know you have date nights and that you do things together as well, but was this intentional or is it just strictly a desire or is it from a business perspective expedient since you're both in this business for you to have this brand?
Desire. We enjoy working with each other. She's my best friend, vice versa. We enjoy spending a ton of time together. And we just happen to, like a lot of couples, I think, in business, is she is amazing at things that I'm not great at. And I'm really good at things that she may not be the best at. Yeah. And we complement each other really, really well in the business. And it just so happened that we, as a married couple, replaced a married couple, right, in the business. Yeah. But it's really out of desire. Like when we had the gym, my goal was to get her out of her bartending at the time and get into being in the gym. And she wanted that as well. We just wanted to work together. Yeah. It doesn't really matter what the business would be, what we were doing. It really wouldn't matter. We would want to just continue to do stuff together.
I like that.
Yeah.
We'll touch back on this in a little bit, but I want to ask about your baseball career a little bit because I think it's relevant, and then I'll bring it back to your entrepreneurial endeavors or what you're doing now as intrapreneur, I guess you would say, right? Sure. You were, from what I've heard, I don't know, an average high school player.
Yeah.
Walk on at Flagler, not a scholarship player, so Division II, I believe, right, locally here in St. Augustine. So you walk on, you're a 4-year starter there, and then you catch on as a free agent with the Phillies organization, make it, I think, top A ball or high A ball, cut in spring training. One game. You're there.
Get up to the top. One game. I hit 333. I went 1 for 3. There we go.
Cut in spring training the next 2 years, I believe, correct?
Next year after that. So final season, play the season. I go to spring training. I go all the way through spring training, make it through 2 different cuts, and then get cut on the final day.
What's the lesson of that story for other people? There's elements of don't give up. There's elements of, follow your passion, follow your dream. But there's a tipping point, I feel like, in there. Something has to have happened in there where you went from, again, average high school player to playing in a pro league 4 years later. What's the lessons for yourself or others in that arc of a story?
Surround yourself with people who have already done it.
What do you mean? I know what you mean, but give me an example of that. Yeah.
Yep. So I grew up, when I moved back to Florida in Clearwater, there was a place in Clearwater called the Winning Inning. And it was a baseball academy that was run by Roy Silver and Randy Holland. Roy Silver, Randy Holland. Roy was like my second dad. And Randy, uncle. Like great human beings. They ran this. They had previously been coaches or trainers within professional baseball organizations. The Winning Inning was the place where, if you're familiar with Josh Hamilton, that's where he went to rehab.
You spent some time with him.
Stayed a night with him. Yeah. That was a very interesting time. Unreal, phenomenal human being, just amazing. But I got to spend a lot of time with a lot of professional baseball players, and I got to learn from a lot of them. And I got to understand what it takes to get to the next level. And even though I didn't have the genetic ability, I realized that at a young age. And also people told me that at a young age. They're like, you're going to have to battle. And Roy told me that. He's like, if you're going to do it, you have to be this type of guy.
What position were you?
Shortstop, second base. Yeah.
Gotcha.
He's like, you're going to have to be this type of player, and this is what it's going to look like if you're going to do that. And I was surrounded by incredible people, and Roy is one of the reasons why I even had a chance to play professional baseball. He was the one that vouched for me. And I remember the day I was cut, he was super upset. He was like, that's the last time I'm going to go out on a limb for someone. And he's like, it's not your fault. It's the last time, because I played baseball the right way. I played the way that I was trained. I hustled, went hard, knew the game, all this stuff. And didn't have the genetic ability at the time, I can understand from Roy's perspective why he would not continue to push more players like me into the game, because the game has evolved. It's a little bit different. But I was surrounding myself. So that's number one, is like, you need to be with people who've been there before, because you can learn a lot faster. And if you just listen, just shut up and listen. Like, you don't have to try to be the bigger man in the group. Like, I just would sit there and I wouldn't say a word. I'd just listen to these guys. And then maybe I'd ask a question. But most of the time I'm just sitting there listening, or I'm watching. How do they swing? How do they go about their work? What are they doing? And I would just be like, okay, what's going on? And then I would hang around college baseball players and all these guys above me. So that. And then I just worked. The other thing is I just worked my ass off, like, every day. I lived there. I mean, I was there for 5 to 6 hours a day from the age of 15 till then I went to college. And then college, you're practicing, you're playing. It's like a job. And then pro ball, I spent every day, all day in the off season there. And then when you're playing, you're obviously doing that. And there were days where I would play, because I was in the Gulf Coast League. The game starts at noon, which is terrible in Florida. Middle of summer, it's like August, it's 100 degrees. You play, you get done at 5 because the games are so stupid slow. And then I would be like, I need extra work. I would ask the coaches there, can I get some extra work? They'd say, no, we're done for the day. I'd be like, what? This is mind blowing. But I understand it from a business standpoint, because I was not a high investment guy. So I totally understand. So then I would go to the winning inning right down the street in Clearwater, and I would get extra work in at night. Because I was like, I just need to get better. And the only way for me that I knew that I could get better, because I'm not going to wake up and suddenly be faster, bigger, stronger, hit for power, and do all these things, is like, I just have to get to a point where I can do it with my eyes closed.
Yeah.
And I still was not a very good, like, I mean, when you compare me to, like, you look at my stats, I was terrible. And I should not have been at that level, but I was, and I'm thankful for it. And I'm very thankful for the opportunity.
I love the point, though. And then Alex later being somebody with proximity. I've heard this said. I love this quote. It's something like, if you run against people that are slower than you, you'll win every time. Mm-hmm. But if you run against people that are faster than you, you'll lose, but have your best time. Mm-hmm. You've ever heard that before?
I never have, but that's incredible.
I love that quote, because it's so true. And I think I love the intentionality that you had with Alex in saying, I'll work for you for free, just because you saw that proximity. Is there an avatar, or maybe even an individual today as you've grown, that you see as that next person that you need proximity with? Or if you could design the person to be around for an hour a day to learn, what would that person be?
Right now, we're trying to build gymowners.com as a startup. I've had the opportunity to hang out with Patrick Campbell. He started Profit Well, and then they sold to Paddle.
Got it.
And he bootstrapped that. And I've had some time. I would love to if I could spend more time with him every day, I would do that, because I know the consulting side, which is GymLaunch, and the info space. I know a little bit of the product space of supplements, which is Prestige Labs, but the tech space has such an incredible, they have really high returns when done really, really well, and huge upside potential. And I would love to learn more. So whenever I'm around him, I just try to ask him as many questions and soak up as much information as I can.
Real quick, as an aside, can you give a little bit more on Gym Owners? What is, you said it's a tech-based company. What exactly does it do?
GymOwners.com. We're building a CRM for gyms. It's more like a gym management system, so a GMS. Our goal is to be able to eliminate, and this sounds bad, but our goal is to create a system that doesn't rely on so many humans to do the work inside of a gym, is to eliminate a lot of the clicks, a lot of the little things that gym owners have to do to try to run their business. And we want to make logging into their CRM fun and enjoyable for them. So they get better data. They can make faster decisions. Their CRM will actually coach them and tell them what they need to do. And then their CRM will take the next step and actually do the things that they need done for them.
Is the strategy with Gym Owners, GymLaunch, Prestige Labs to roll them all up and exit, or is it to roll them up individually, or either or?
Roll them up together.
Roll them up together.
Yeah, that's
and
the
exit.
story of the.
What's the timeline?
2026, 2027.
Got you. All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
Is Alex still involved at all in gym? I mean, day to day at all?
No, not at all. No, he's just board meetings. We still text like almost every day.
Yeah,
but
sure.
Yeah.
But
no,
on the
just
business
board
side of it,
meetings.
he's just on the executive side of it. Okay. You were homeschooled. You mentioned playing baseball 3-4 hours a day. Somebody might be like, how the hell did you play baseball? But you were homeschooled all the way through, right?
All the way through.
Are you homeschooling your kids?
No.
Why not?
Time. Don't have time.
Yeah.
And haven't had a desire. My parents decided to homeschool me because that was faith-based. And so they were like, they believe God called them to do that. As of right now, we don't believe that God is calling us to homeschool our kids.
Are you going to traditional school or an alternative
Yeah,
school?
they go right there.
Oh, right here.
Right behind you.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Both of them.
Is there anything that you're finding in your upbringing that you missed out on as a result of not going to regular school?
No, not a single thing.
Nothing.
No.
Wow. Kinship, fellowship, friends, nothing like that.
No.
How did you still have relationships with other kids at that age?
So I had 2 different friend groups. Baseball helped me a ton. Sports helped me a ton.
Sure.
But I had 2 different friend groups. One was, and it's funny, they were both on very opposite ends of the spectrum. One is the homeschool groups, and the ones that I would hang out with at the time, due to the church that I went to, were all very conservative Christians, to the point where like the daughters and the mothers would wear like head coverings, like all that stuff. So, which is totally cool. They're amazing human beings, incredible, super smart, freaking geniuses. So I'd have that group, and I would fit in, and that would be much more intellectual. And then I'd have my sports groups with my buddies, and not intellectual at all, definitely locker room style, but I had both sides of it. And so we're playing sports, doing all this stuff. This group, not so much into sports, more into like engineering and computers and like all this stuff. And so I got both sides, and which was really cool for me. And also another aspect is I had to learn to meet people where they are, and also get a lay of the land every time I walked in somewhere, because I moved every 3 years. And it's not, my dad was in finance, not the military or anything. And he just was moving around, and we would move a little bit. And so I had to make a new friend group every time I moved, which is not easy being homeschooled at all. And so I had to learn very quickly how to, one, understand who's leading, who's not. Like when you go in and you walk up to a baseball field, who's the best player out here? Like I could tell you right away. It's like, who's the one that everyone looks to? Okay. Who's the weakest kid? Okay. It sounds bad, but it's like I'm scoping it out to understand, where do I fit in here? And then how can I move up in the ladder?
Yeah.
And for some reason at a young age, I caught on to that.
Well, I maybe forced a bit by just
Yeah,
the idea of moving.
Forced,
I moved a bunch too as a kid. Same thing, not military, but just, and it's funny. I look back at it now. It was an opportunity almost to reinvent myself each time. Like this is how I want to show up. This is the version of me that I'm going to be with these people. Maybe it's a bit of a facade, but you know, like okay, whatever that was, whatever was happening there, I can turn it on here. I hated it when it was happening. I feel like. But looking back on it now with the benefit of hindsight, it's probably one of the greatest things that's ever happened to me. It taught me how to, you know, engage and interact and meet people and all of that good stuff. So
here's a question for you. Do you have really close friends?
I do. Well, yes and no. Yes and no. You?
Me? No.
No. Yeah.
I have
So
some.
I've got it's funny. There's 5 guys that I didn't, in school age, 0.
Same.
0. 5 guys
Well,
I
say
worked
that. I
with.
got one guy from high school.
He's still close with him?
He actually works. He's our sales director.
Oh, there you go. I have one guy that's funny. I grew up in New York. I live in Michigan. The one guy that I was close to in New York when I was in high school lives like 20 minutes away, and I've seen him once since living there. So close, no, but you know I know who he is. But there are 5 guys that I worked with in my late teens at a Ponderosa. Do you remember Ponderosa Steakhouses?
Oh, yeah.
And we've kept in touch, but it's honestly like I'm the guy that keeps us in touch. Otherwise, we wouldn't really be in touch, and it's not frequent. It's like a group text every so often. Before COVID, we would get together once a year, but no, not really, not really.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I was curious because if you moved around a lot, for me, I'm a loner. Like I don't actually need to be around people.
are you an introvert or a loner?
Yeah,
You're an introvert.
Introvert.
Gotcha.
With the ability to flex and be an extrovert.
I feel like I'm an omnivert. I think it's the in the
maybe that's
between.
it.
Like I present as an extrovert. I present as very like outgoing and and I enjoy like I'm going to dinner tonight with a few people or whatever. But I told you I flew to Fort Lauderdale and drove 4 hours because it was like, some alone time in the car for me. If I did the flight to Philly or Charlotte or wherever the hell, Chicago, and then flew down here, like, yeah, okay, maybe it was the same amount of time, but I'd be on my phone the whole time, right? I'd be doing things, emailing, whatever. I'd just be going. So the idea that I have to drive and can't touch this thing and just zone out, I get so much more done in that space. So there is like I do value my alone time. I enjoy the drive or whatever it is.
I love it. That's why I play golf.
Yeah.
I can't be on my phone when I'm playing golf.
I hate golf.
Oh, man.
Golf is the one thing we're Yankee fans,
okay.
right?
okay.
We've got all these things, but
all
golf. I tried it when I was in corporate just because I thought I should, but
My dad I have this weird thing. So there's 3 people in my immediate family, myself included, that have played a professional sport, all different sports at a different all professionally. So my dad played professional golf, not on the PGA Tour. So he played Asia and South America. And then my younger sister, was a professional fighter.
Fighter?
Yeah, like MMA, like Invicta,
Whoa.
bare knuckle. So she's done a couple of those.
Yeah. How was that growing up? Was she kicking your ass left and right or not?
No, I have some funny stories. I will not talk about them, but I have some funny stories about, no, she could not kick my ass.
Wow, tough lady.
Yeah,
Tough lady.
very tough.
Something I wanted to cover that I didn't get a chance to earlier. I just took us off on a tangent, but I want to go back real quick to since you've seen so many gyms scale, and I'm sure there's relatability to other business types. What is it when you go into a gym with GymLaunch, or what you just observed from having scaled gym businesses before? What is it that you see is the most common reason why these gyms are failing?
Marketing.
What does that mean?
They do not have, that's a great question. They don't have a compelling offer. They look like everyone else. So they don't have a compelling offer that would cause someone to say, oh, that's interesting. I should go there. They can help me change the way that I look and feel. Most of the time, everyone understands gyms suck. Can we all agree? Like, going to the gym genuinely sucks because it takes time. I have to hurt a little bit. There's pain involved.
Yeah.
And there's pain involved and it takes time. Just is what it is.
Yeah.
And the average person doesn't want to go. There's also why obesity is rising. So with that in mind, how do I stand out and how do I get people that know they need to go but don't want to go? How do they get them to say hi? And how do I get them to opt in, give me their information, and show up? To give me the chance to then communicate the value that I have in my facility in a way that will get them to pay me top dollar to join my facility. So marketing is number one.
So real quick, it's not that they're not marketing. It's that their efforts are
It's both.
Oh, it's not that if they're not marketing as well.
Most gyms don't spend money on social media. So if you talk to the average gym, and we found this out through talking to, we're now over 38,000 different gym owners, and 90% of them don't run ads. Now they might have at one point. The problem is they didn't have a compelling offer. They also didn't understand that there's 3 aspects of acquisition. It's not everyone, a lot of times, I can't say everyone, a lot of business owners and gym owners think I just need leads to solve my problem.
Right.
You know, I can get you 1,000 leads. What are you going to do with them? What are you going to do? You don't have a system to call them right away. You're not going to call them within 5 minutes. Well, they're an adult. They should know. They should schedule. They should, if they opted in and gave me their information, they should schedule an appointment. And then if they schedule an appointment, they're an adult. They should show up. They're not. Like, it's our job to actually work them, which means that if I get 1,000 leads, I need to make 2,000 calls. If I get 1,000 leads in one day, I need to make 2,000 calls that same day because I need to call them twice. I also need to send 2,000 to 3,000 texts to get them to actually schedule an appointment if they didn't. If they did schedule an appointment, then I need to be texting or calling them 2 to 3 times a day to confirm and also remind them of their appointment.
Wow.
It's that involved.
Yeah.
And that's lead nurture. So we've got getting leads is one thing. We need a compelling offer. We need to be able to utilize the right channels. And we need something that's going to get people to say, raise their hand and be like, I'm interested in this. Then we need to get those interested hand raisers to actually book an appointment and show up. And if I can do that, great. Then we have to actually sell them. And how do you sell them? Well, we have to understand the choreography of a sales appointment. When we teach our clients this, like, what does it look like from the moment someone walks in your door? What's the process? How do you orchestrate the process and stack the deck in your favor so that you can close more deals and collect more money up front? Because what we found is that when a client of a gym pays more money up front, they're more invested in their fitness, which means they get better results. So the more money they pay, the more invested they are, the better the results because the more compliant they are, and they'll follow through with it. So it's a win-win situation. The gym owner makes more money and the client gets the results that they want. The person who doesn't pay as much money is like, I don't have that much skin in the game. So you know what? I can skip a day or two, and then it becomes a week, and then they just leave. So, but
That's
marketing or acquisition maybe would be a better way to say it.
No, I like that. I like what you're saying. I want to break it down a little bit. How do you differentiate an offer? I'm just thinking of gyms, right? So there's a lot of boutique gyms. You know, is it the culture of the gym? Like, how do you differentiate an offer between what seemingly is a very similar product? How do they compete with one another, and how do you differentiate an offer for somebody?
You shouldn't worry. This is where a lot of people get messed up. The gym shouldn't make an offer based on their gym. They should make an offer based on what the prospects want, what the marketplace says is a good offer. That's the biggest problem. Gyms make offers based on what they think they should do.
Give me an example. What do you mean by that?
So a big box health club. Health clubs love to do these 7-day, 3-day passes, and it can work for general memberships, right? But what we have found in our own testing is that we can run a 6-week challenge, which a lot of other boutique facilities will run, we can run that and smash for a health club because it's what people want. They want a challenge. The reason why 6 weeks still works, and you can do a 28-day. We found 28-day, 21-day, 8 weeks. Up to 12 weeks is kind of hard, but anything under, really that sweet spot is 28 days to 6 weeks. Any type of challenge, transformational thing, whatever it is. And you can rename it however you want. It could be like Lean by Halloween. It could be, what do we have? We had like a spring break one. There's like a red carpet one. There's a little black dress one. There's like all these little things that you can do. Right? Summer slim down.
Summer,
That's
I was going to say,
right? All these, like there's all these different ones. And it doesn't matter, but when a big box or health club does this, what happens is they're offering something that the public wants and that they perceive as, they find as valuable. Like, oh, you're going to give me a trainer for 3 workouts per week for 6 weeks. So they're going to help me. So if I have any questions, I'm going to make sure that I get great results. You're also going to help me in my nutrition. You're going to give me a meal plan. You're going to give me recipe books. You're going to give me an eating out guide. You're going to give me a meal prep guide. You're going to give me all these things that I don't have so I can cut down on the time it's going to take for me to eat well. So you're going to tell me what to do. And then you're going to hold me accountable. Oh, so you're going to text me 2 to 3 times a week. And then I'm going to weigh out every single week to track progress. And then we're going to have a week 3 meeting. And then we're going to meet again at like week 6. We're going to do all these things to hold you accountable to make sure that you don't fall off track. These are the things that people want. These are the things that people need. And the problem is that most offers don't include any of those, or they include one. Most of them, most offers are all based on access to a facility, even boutique facilities, because they're like, oh, our workouts are great and all this stuff, but they're really just come and use our facility. That's it. Rather than, hey, let's transform your body, and I guarantee we'll do it.
Wow. Okay. Let me walk through this and make sure I understand it, because I think there's relatability. A lot of people are in e-commerce or whatever. I think there's relatability across, or coaching courses, that sort of
100%.
thing. So you run ads to opt in to an application of some sort. I'm assuming it's an application
Not
funnel.
even lead forms now.
I'm sorry?
Facebook lead forms.
What is Facebook lead forms?
So it's just built into Facebook. So it just grabs their information from Facebook.
You don't even need a ClickFunnels account or anything like that.
Don't even need it.
Okay, so you run this to the Santa Slim Down or whatever the hell it's going to be. I just made that one up. You can use that.
I love it.
So you do that, right? So 6 weeks Santa Slim Down, and then here's all of the perks and the benefits of doing that. Somebody opts in.
Yep.
If I'm hearing you right, the ideal at that point is that the faster you engage with that prospect,
100%.
the more motivated they are to spend money. So 5 minutes, 3 minutes, a minute, instant call. Is there desperation in that though?
No.
Meaning, like, does it come across as a desperate energy to the client if you call like in that minute?
What if we flip that and it was you caring?
Fair enough. Yeah.
Because this person took time out of their day, they're busy and they're flipping through. The question I always raise to gym owners is this. When they talk about like, why do I need to nurture this much? Well, it's like, okay, cool. When was the last time you were scrolling on Facebook and saw an offer from a local business that you had to drive to go to? When was the last time you opted into something? Never gotten a hand raised, ever. That's like for you. Think about it. Like when was the last time a local business, not just like an e-commerce digital store or something like that, or a product. When was the last time a service that you had to drive to go for? When was the last time you opted in on Facebook? That means you got pain.
Yeah.
That means you have serious pain and you need to change, which means that it's my job. It's my responsibility to reach out to that person because this person's in pain. And if I don't get them in, what if their life is cut short because I didn't have a chance to show them and help them lose 20 pounds or get off the diabetic medicine that they've been on, or help with their blood sugar levels, or help with any injury, whatever it might be, right? That's on me. And so when we switch it from desperation, which is in my opinion, like this victim, it's just an easy excuse for people to use. It sounds desperate. It's like, no, you care. What if we cared for the prospect? You don't even know them. And so what if you prove to them that you care so much about them that you're willing to call them and text them and do these things just so that they get in? And if they tell you, they're like, hey, this seems like a lot. You're like, I understand. I care about you. Wait until you get in. Just wait until. If this is how much we care about you, I haven't even met you yet. Just wait until you come into my facility.
Wow, man. You can feel it on you as you talk through it.
I get chills because I have a stack of undeniable proof, right? Of people's lives that have been changed in my own facility. And then I get to see the lives change through the gym owners that we use, that we work with. And so I remember telling my sales team, because I believe this, I was like, if a grown ass human being opts in, gets in their car, drives to our facility, whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, gets out of their car, walks into a crazy place that they've never seen, into a warehouse, because we had a warehouse space, walks in and meets with you and they have a problem, and you can't bridge the gap between the problem and the solution that we have, and you can't get them to walk over that bridge and do this, you're the asshole. Because this person you could have saved or added 20 years to their life. You could have saved their life. This is how I thought about sales. It's very extreme. But I also, for me, I was like, this is what I think about in sales when it comes to health and fitness, because I think gym owners are on the front lines. I think they're the good ones are out there actually keeping people healthy longer and living a longer life. And it's very hard. I wish more gym owners took that more seriously and took that effect of like, it's not sales, it's truly caring for people. If you truly cared for someone, like let's be real. If I'm a gym owner and I say I want to change people's lives, okay, prove it. Run ads. Run an offer that gets more people to show up. If you want to change more lives, run an offer that gets more people to show up. If you truly care about them, call them till your fingers bleed and text them till your fingers bleed to get them to show up. Because if you truly cared about them, you'd get them to show up. And then if you did care about them, you would do everything you possibly could. You would train as much as you possibly could to get them to join your program so that you could have the opportunity to change their life. And so don't tell me you want to change the world and then say, no, I don't want to run those ads or I don't want to market. I'm just word of mouth. No, you don't. You only want to cherry pick people that raise their hand, that walk in with their credit card out. You don't want to actually get better. You don't actually care about people.
Holy cow. You have me thinking in these terms. I've run webinar ads before.
Yeah.
And then you get, whatever, an opt-in of say 800 prospects that register for a webinar, and then 50 or 100 show up to that.
For sure.
But if I made 800 calls or sent 800 texts, because I care about what I do and what, but to me it's like, wow, that's not scalable. You just follow these metrics. As long as I get X opt-in rate and X sales percentage or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of the business side when you're talking about more of the care and the actual passion for it. I love that. The ad is run, they opt in, you're instantly on a call with them, and you're coming at it from a standpoint of caring about them.
Yeah.
On that call, sales call, care call, whatever we're going to call it.
Lead nurture, we're talking about lead nurture process.
Lead nurture, yeah. So you're on the call with them. Mm-hmm. What are the important components tactically of the sales process to maximize your close percentage?
Don't sell them. If it's not a sales call, don't sell them. Your objective is...
What is that first call then? What is that first when they opt in? Yeah, go for it.
So there's two things that could happen. One is if the person has already scheduled an appointment. So the way it would work is lead comes in, fills out the lead form, redirected to a scheduler. If they don't schedule, then you're calling. Your only objective is to get them to schedule an appointment. Nothing else. That's it. So you're just calling and it's like, hey, Jamie, what's up? This is Cale from the Exchange. That was my gym. You just opted in for this crazy 6-week challenge that you saw? Yeah? Remember that? Awesome. Cool. So I noticed you didn't have a chance to schedule. What's crazy, we're almost booked out completely for the rest of the week. But I do have 2 spots available. I have tomorrow evening, and then I also have tonight at 5 o'clock or whatever, and then I have tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Which would work better for you, right? And then just get them booked. Then get off the phone. That's it. So don't try to sell them. Don't try to do anything else.
Confirm,
Fast.
schedule the call.
Done.
Got
the
it.
other person that you would be calling would be the person that already scheduled. And it's like Jamie scheduled. It's like, Jamie, what's up? This is Cale from the Exchange. You just opted in, booked an appointment. Like, notice I'm like asking questions because I want you're nodding your head, right?
Yeah.
You're already like
that's
saying,
me. That's
right?
me.
It's like, that's
sure.
me. You're identifying as that, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, great, awesome. I've got you booked for tonight at 6 p.m. at our location, whatever it is. What I'm going to do, if it's cool with you, I'm going to send you a text with our address and then also a couple things that you can understand when you drive up. Like when you walk in, I'll shoot you a video of like where to go. Is that cool with you? Great, awesome. See you tonight at 6. Bam, done. Right? And then you just got permission to send them more texts throughout the day. Right? And then you just have those objectives. So it's remembering the objective. It's like when a lead comes in, if they haven't scheduled an appointment and my goal is to get them to schedule an appointment, or my goal is to get them to show up. But if they haven't scheduled an appointment yet, I don't need to talk about showing up yet. I just need them to do the next step in the funnel. Then when they do the next step, now I can, the next step after that, I'm going to call them the next day and just confirm, right? Or shoot them a text.
Yeah.
Or shoot them a video text.
Yeah.
Right? Or a voice memo. There's so many different ways you can do it.
Amazing.
Instagram DM. Like if you're doing everything on Instagram, you can use this across all these different things. But scaling the unscalable is how you grow, how you build massive brands and culture and raving fans.
Wow, man.
It sucks, but it's hard.
It's hard work,
Super
right?
hard.
Yeah.
I remember I have a picture of my wife on Mother's Day, pregnant, with our second kid, sitting outside in the Florida heat it was 98 degrees in the sun. The porch is like where the sun was. It was beating on her, and she's calling 150 different leads, back to back to back, double dialing, no voicemail, double dialing, going back through the list. And she did that for 3 or 4 hours. And it's like, this is what you have to do. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what we want to do. What matters is like, what does the business need and what do we need to do? Like we have to be willing to do what it takes. And what it takes is always going to be more than what we think it takes.
Yeah. Wow, man. Wow. I want to be respectful of your time. We're right up against it.
No, you're good, man.
Whoa, that was intense. That was really good, though. You got my mind rolling on a couple of different things on that. So, all right, let's do this. The idea is to roll up the businesses and sell them one day. Mm-hmm. What is then the next thing for you? What's 5 years out? And part of the question here I'm wondering is, do you feel at any point that you're too connected to the brand of GymLaunch? And do you ever have the inclination of like, I got to create space for me? Mm-hmm. Is that the next step for you? What's after GymLaunch, after Gym Owners, after Prestige Labs?
I don't know. I'm very much still an entrepreneur at heart. And it's hard for me sometimes to look at all these other businesses that I know that I have the skill sets to go run my own, and I could probably make more money, like take home, than what I do now, even though I get paid really, really well. But there's also an aspect of like, I love working with Alex and Layla, and then I potentially could have that opportunity with them. And that's what I would love to do, is work with them with acquisition.com. I don't know in what capacity, I have no idea. But from being the face of GymLaunch, that is the goal, is that I remove myself. Because in order for us to be sold again, for someone to want to buy us, then we need to have an established brand that doesn't really have a face. And kind of in a way, I have an idea of like someone that could step up and be that person again. And I have multiple people that I think could be that. I have a couple that I think are top notch that would be incredible leaders in the company. I would have to obviously stay on and transition no matter what. That's part of the deal. And I don't know.
Do you have any equity in these businesses? You do?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any other wealth strategies that you're deploying your capital into?
Real estate.
In what way?
Small. I have 2 homes now. We just sold one actually because it's too much right now with where we're at. I think we went down the road of real estate and almost bought a couple more things. And then I realized for me right now where we're at and Maggie, our skill set is really business and taking things and growing them. So I'd actually prefer to I want to solve for cash flow personally right now, and then get into real estate in the future without a doubt.
What do you mean by solve for cash flow?
I want to, because real estate is an exceptional game. I've done a little bit of research. I am nowhere near an expert on this, by the way, and you are the expert.
I wouldn't call me that, yeah. But
you are much more of an expert than me. So for me, when I look at real estate right now, I either have to play a bigger game where I have to go into bigger deals and do that stuff. And that's going to take time. And that's a skill set that I want to acquire someday, raising funds and doing all that stuff. But I don't have the time or the ability to do that right now. And so if I can't even do that, it's like, okay, not going to worry about that. But what's a skill set that I have right now that I can turn into money? And that would be, I understand business. I understand how to grow businesses. I understand marketing. Maggie understands operations. Together, we make a really powerful team. And if I was going to start something, I don't have anything on the side, but if I was going to do it, I would go out and acquire businesses and build like a portfolio of businesses.
Yeah.
And do that.
That's smart. I think that's the opportunity right now.
Yeah.
More than anything, I think it's to buy businesses.
A lot of people are retiring. There's a lot of,
tons of stats on that.
I'm not interested in sexy business. It'd just literally be boring businesses.
You're all Cody Sanchez now.
Yeah,
I love it.
know.
On the real estate side, just curious, what is it that you love as far as your activities in real estate? I know everybody loves the cash flow, the tax advantages, but like, what do you love doing in real estate?
I love the numbers and the unemotional side of it, just the data. It's like, just show me the numbers on this. It's like, okay, cool, this works, or it doesn't. And it's like, that's what I love.
Yeah.
I have internally, Alex dubbed me as RoboCale, because I'm not very emotional when it comes to certain aspects, and I've had to work on that over time as a leader. But I prefer it, at the end of the day, if I could just see data, show me data, and then make a decision, I would just rather do that. Never have to worry about humans, never have to worry about anything. It just literally be like, just this, do this. Okay, great.
What's the avatar of your following, do you think, at this point?
That's really funny because I started doing some more marriage stuff in my content, and it wildly shifted to women. Wildly. I went from 85% men to like 52% women.
Wow. Like not shifted, like it dropped from 85 to 75. You went all the way. Women are more of your content.
All the way over.
Wow.
All the way over, which I thought was fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm a simp. Who knows? I don't know. Apparently, according to the trolls, the mids on social media, I'm a simp. So
My thoughts on it were, I wonder, you're building your brand, and I think it's smart, man. I think that's a lesson I've learned. There's a lot of push for passive income, which is a myth anyway. Yeah. The idea of truly passive, but the true wealth I've seen built by anybody that has significant wealth, and you see this with Alex, but the people that I'm up close to, is all in on one skill set, one business, one vertical, if you will.
Yep.
And they push that to the top. And at a certain point, it just almost becomes mathematic to say, well, I got to topple some of this money into something. Right?
Exactly.
So where does it go? It goes here, it goes there, that sort of thing. But along the way, as you're building a brand, where I see opportunity for you, depending on your following and who's out there for you, is to be less involved as the finder fixer of a real estate transaction, and simply pair up with somebody who's operating at a high level and raise capital, and take a percentage of the general partnership from.
That's
them.
what I would love to do. That would be the thing that I don't, because I don't want to get into that game of the other side. I would rather do that.
I have a small brand, even compared to yours, right? You said you're small. Well, if you're small, I'm smaller at this point. So, but I've been able to raise significant capital for the deals we do simply off of brand. And I have a bit of an advantage, not advantage, but I have a bit of a my following is mostly guys that would be in a Gobundance. So they're going to be higher net worth. They're interested in real estate. So it's small but niche, right? So that helps. But you've got a nice following that's growing. Like you said, you'll be at 500,000 million followers in the next couple of years. And there's a large percentage, I'm sure, men or women, who have the financial means. And what I've learned is, it's so funny. I mean, you've probably seen this with Alex, but people, they go for the KLT, the know, like, trust. So if I've got 50 or 100 grand and I want to invest it, and people have said this to me, they're like, I'm going to put it somewhere. I don't know any of those people. I at least
put it with you.
Feel like I know you.
Yep.
So, what do you got? What do you, what's the deal that you're putting together right now? That always blows me away. So
it's cool, isn't it?
It is.
It's humbling.
But it gives you the opportunity to diversify and get into that space without having to be in that space. Brandon's a great example. Brandon doesn't do anything in real estate, but he's built a big brand, Brandon Turner, and he attracts a lot of capital. I mean, that's really all that dude does. Sits on a beach in Hawaii and does that. So
good gig.
Yeah, it's not too bad.
It's a good gig.
Not too bad.
That's kind of the goal. It's to use the cash flow from the businesses, build a brand, and then who knows what happens after that. But I'm gonna have to do something with the money. So that's where real estate is always going to be a part of that in some form or fashion.
Yeah, you're timing it up well, man. I love it.
I hope so.
We'll
see.
Yeah, your next.
Then I just want to play golf.
Here,
go out for the senior tour.
That's right.
Someday.
Yeah, we were simpatico.
I know. And then
golf.
I just want to play golf.
Go see your kids, Cale. Where do people follow you? Where do they learn more about you?
They can follow me on any of the social media accounts at Cale Owen. So CaleOwen, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you name it. I'm more on Instagram and TikTok than anywhere else. YouTube, I'm also on there, Cale Owen. I haven't put any long form stuff yet. I will down the road, but now it's all shorts and all that stuff. But if you want to follow any of our businesses, GymLaunch, follow us there. My suggestion would be if you're interested in any marriage stuff, like Cookies and Coffee podcast is the one that I do with my wife that I really enjoy. It's really just a documentary of our life, of where we're at.
Yeah, I like how you guys are doing it. So good stuff, man. Appreciate you.
Thanks, Jamie. Appreciate it, man.